Well, welcome to the Father Show. I'm so glad that you joined us today. We have a fantastic show, and we have one that's going to be maybe a little controversy for this show because it is about, the Father Show is mainly focusing on men. But today I have Simone Spence, and she's from Athena Collect, and that is a company that helps women collect back old child support that us as men should be paying. And we're going to talk about, even when women or, the men that back child support. So I want you to stay tuned. This is going to be a fantastic show. This is going to be something that we can all learn something from. And that's why I asked her to be on the show, because I'm really adamant that fathers should pay their child support. And I know we don't always want to, and I know there's reasons why we don't want to. However, your child still needs your support. So I want you to do that. But before we go forward, I would like for you to remember to subscribe, like, and share. And don't forget, hit that notification bell so that you will always be notified whenever we have a new show. So, ladies and gentlemen, with further ado, I'd like to welcome Simone Spence. Hey, Simone, how are you?
Hey Mike, how you doing
All
today?
right. And I know that's Athena Collect, right?
Athena Collects.
Yeah, Athena Collects. We got to put the S.
That's right. AthenaCollects.com.
Okay. So before we get started, because I know we got a lot to cover and I want to dig into it. Let's the audience, give them a little background about yourself.
Yeah, I'd love to. Thank you for asking. My background is everything. It's the reason why this company exists in the first place. I got into this business, Mike, over 25 years ago when I had my very own child support collection problem. I found out really fast that the court system is just not optimized to help women to collect their back child support. And it was a problem. I had a problem initially with bill paying and getting through life because the other party to this, my ex husband, did not want to uphold his part of his responsibility. He did not want to hold himself accountable, and the courts refused to hold him accountable. As a result, I found myself in a situation where I had to figure out how to navigate the child support collection process by myself. And lucky for me, I was able to do that. It took me a really long time to figure it out. A lot of research, a lot of talking to lawyer friends who I had in my circle at the time. But the good news is at the end of the day, I was able to figure out how to collect my back child support. What I found out soon after that was that nearly every single woman that I came into contact with who had children as a result of a previous relationship. So whether she was divorced, like I was, or never married, it didn't matter. Any woman who had children as a result of a previous relationship, nearly every single one of them had a back child support collection problem. So initially, I started helping women just on my own, kitchen table kind of thing. Eventually, I opened up a shop, called myself a private consultant and started doing this work. This is after years of me doing it and having written several child support collection books. I started doing speaking engagements, and I actually built a name for myself doing this for years and helped, thousands of women to collect millions of dollars. It was just recently, I'm going to say 5 or 6 years ago, that I decided that I wanted to actually level up because there were millions of women out there who are having the same problem still after over 25 years. And I decided that since no one had decided to pick this up and to run with it, that I was in the best position to do that because there are too many women raising too many children who are owed way too much money. Most people don't even realize that there's $118 billion in past due child support in the country that's just been left on the table by women who've walked away from their child support that's owed to them because they're having a hard time collecting it. And it's about This is about lost opportunities for kids. This is about the kids not having what they need. They're not getting the extracurricular activity. They're not getting the new sneakers when they need it. Maybe the lights aren't on when they come home from school in the afternoon and they flick the switch because mama couldn't pay the bill. Maybe mom has drained her savings account or her retirement accounts to make sure that her kids have. And by the time she gets to her own time to retire, there's nothing left for her. There are tons of why women should absolutely go after the money that they're owed, and that's the reason why I built this business. We're not talking about the men who have an inability to pay, Mike. We're talking about the dads who have an unwillingness to pay. So there's a big difference between the unable and the unwilling. And my company, Athena Collects, specifically targets middle and high income dads who are unwilling to pay their child support.
Okay. And I agree with you. There are definitely some dads that are unwilling for multiple reasons. So I know that happens, and I think that's great that you are helping the women's collect, because ultimately, like I mentioned earlier, it's about the kids, and the kids need the money. And I'm gonna be honest. I've told, because I have a, because of this organization, men will come to me and ask me, what about this? What about my child support? I don't think it's fair. I tell them to pay it like a light bill. You don't think about it. You just, it's due. Just pay it. And well, I know she's not doing what she's supposed to be doing with the money, and that could be. However, I guarantee you, if you just pay your part, whatever that is, at the end of the day, if they don't have new clothes or new sneakers and so forth, but they see mom having new clothes, nails getting done, hair getting done, then they'll know exactly where the problem lies. So I know that's, just speaking as a man, I know that's a lot of times the man's point of view. But let me ask you, and you kind of mentioned it earlier. I wonder if you can dive into it a little bit more. How does a child support help a parent?
Wow. Well, that's a loaded question. Let's first get in front of it and say that the child support is for the benefit of the child. So I don't really want to say how does it help a parent. It's more about how does it help the child, that both of these people are supposed to be taken care of financially. So how it helps the children are some of the ways that I just mentioned previously. It makes sure that these kids get exactly what they're supposed to get. Child support is designed to mimic the financial benefits that a child would have if their two parents were still together, whether
Right.
that is a marital situation or a living situation. If these two people were living together and pooling their finances into one pot and taking care of this child, that is what child support is supposed to mimic, for the benefit of the child. And I think that that's what a lot of people forget about when they're thinking about the money that has to be paid out. They're forgetting that this money is benefiting the child.
Now, does Athena Collects, does it help men that are owed back child support?
So, the company does not discriminate in any way. We are a tech platform. So whoever decides to go to our website and sign up for our process, if you are owed the back child support and you check all of the boxes that need to be checked to become a customer of ours, it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't matter what your gender is. So, it's completely blind to gender in that way. So does our company help dads who have this problem? Absolutely. What I will say, and I think this is not a surprise, everybody knows this. What I will say is that emphatically, most of our clients happen to be women, because
Mm-hmm.
it's mostly women that have a back child support collection problem. But do we help dads that have the problem? Absolutely. I encourage dads who have the very same problem to onboard to our platform, because we can help them just as easy as we can help a mom who has the problem.
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, there's definitely uh, fathers that don't, and like I was mentioning to you before we went on air, I was a single dad for years, and even when I got custody of my daughter, my attorney said, "Well, don't you want her to pay your child support?" And I said, "Nope, just give me my child. I don't want the child support. I want my child because I knew she would be better with me than she was
Hmm.
with her mom." So I know a lot of men will say that, but in today's time, a lot of women make more than the men.
That's true. Hmm.
So when it comes down to it, then you will have that scenario come up. So that's why I was asking, that question.
Well, that kind of scenario comes up in the courtroom when the child support order is being
Right.
created. So,
Right.
depending on what state you live in, that will determine how your child support is calculated.
Yeah.
In some states, it's completely dependent upon the payor's income. In other
Hmm.
states, it's completely dependent upon the two parents' income. It's pooled together, and then there's a calculation. And in other states, they first determine what dad needs to survive before they even take into account child support. So the state that you live in drives how your child support is calculated. But that happens at the very beginning of the process.
Right.
What we're talking about a process where child support was already created in a court somewhere. So one person became the payor, the other person became the payee, and the payor just didn't pay. So there's
Hmm.
been a default on the payment for a period of months or years. Usually it's several years that have gone by, many years that have gone by, and a specific amount. So you have to have already been defaulted for X dollars for X period of time before our platform even becomes an option for the parent who looks
Yeah.
to collect. So we're not trying to, to bother people who missed a month or something like that, even 2 months. We're talking about people who are repeated offenders of non-payment.
Now, is there a amount that you start? Say, okay, well, we'll start working with you once you reach this amount, or once you
So
reach
for our
the.
platform, it's $5,000 and at least 6 months. So
Okay.
you have to have, an order that's already 6 months past due for at least $5,000 or more. And can I tell you that no one even comes to our website looking for this kind of help at that stage? Typically, when moms, and I say moms loosely because it's usually moms who are looking for this kind
Hmm.
of solution, they're looking for us. Typically, we're talking about people who are owed for years, 5, 7, 10 years of non-payment of support money, and they're owed tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars. We're not talking about people who are even trying to collect $5,000. When people come looking for our solution, it's because they've gotten nowhere in the child support enforcement system. They can't afford an attorney, and they're looking for somebody somewhere to help them because they are owed 50, 70, $80,000. Their kid is looking to go to college. They have no money to give them. Or maybe, and this is something we hear all the time, I'm exhausted. I'm tired of working two jobs to take care of these
Hmm.
children when the other person just doesn't do their part. Just have them do their part, and we could move on. These are the kinds of situations that we hear.
Now, does the court help in collecting this money?
See, child support enforcement, as most people know it on a state by state basis, yeah, the short answer to that question is that there is a process in place on a state by state basis to help people to collect. The problem is, like most government systems, they don't do a very good job about it. They
Hmm.
don't do a good job of finding the people that they're looking for. They don't do a good job of finding their income. They don't do a good job of finding their assets. And, as a result, these cases wind up backlogged 5, 7, 10 years, tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars. So, does the state offer the service? Absolutely. But let's also remember that it's a government agency, and think about all the other government agencies that we have to work with on a daily basis. And then you have
Mm.
the answer already of why this isn't working.
Yeah, I'm not going to touch that one.
Yeah. I mean, it just is what it is. This is no bash to the government or their organizations. It just is what it is. I mean, there's a reason why there's billions of dollars that are passed due to people. I mean, the fact of the matter truly is that, if there was 118 billion dollars that was due to the IRS or some like type agency, trust that they would be finding you, and they'd be finding you to get their money. But
Hmm.
this money is owed to women and children, and it's just kind of like seen as a family issue. It's a domestic issue. Let them deal with their problems by themselves. And you know what? Honestly, Mike, truth be told, we could have another whole show about how the child support system was actually built and why it was built, and actually give people a background on why the system isn't working in the first place, because there were reasons. The
Yeah.
child support enforcement system, as it was built, was never intended to help these people to collect their past due child support. It was built for different reasons. They just at some point said, okay, well, let's allow these people in and help them. So the system is actually working exactly the way that it was designed. And that's one of the things that I try to get people to at least begin to wrap their brains around and understand, is the system is not broken. You hear that frequently on both sides, on mom's side and on dad's side. Let's be clear about something. The system is not broken. The system was actually designed very specifically in a very specific way and for very specific reasons. And for those reasons, the system is working exactly the way that it was designed and intended. So if you are trying to access the system for something else, for a reason that you want and that wasn't designed, you have to realize that either you're going to be waiting for a really, 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 really long time, or you're going to have to decide that you're going to have to go about it in a different way.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why this company was built.
Yeah. So that's where Athena comes into play.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. I mean, we all know things are privatized all the time for the same exact reason.
Hmm. Now, have you seen many men, come in and ask for your assistance?
That's really interesting, Mike. And I had to chuckle to myself when you mentioned a moment ago that when you were a single dad and you were raising your daughter, that you did not ask for child support. So when I was a consultant, again, I was a consultant for over 25 years doing this work, doing speaking engagements, writing books, helping moms on a one-to-one basis. When I was a consultant, I had very, very few dads to come to me looking for services. It was always moms. Occasionally, we'd have the dads to come into our storefront. We had a storefront on a busy street, got lots of traffic.
Hmm.
Occasionally, we would have dads to come in, and they'd come in, and they were more or less kind of like tire kickers. They wanted to sniff around. They wanted to see how it worked. What were the fees like? How long would it take? But when I tell you that in 25 years' time, I had one handful of dads to actually sign up for services, that's probably about accurate when I had thousands of people coming to me for help. So, for whatever reasons, the dads are less likely to seek out the assistance, even when they are the custodial parents. I
Hmm.
find that personally very disheartening because, again, it's for the kids. But you know how you guys are. You know how you men are, Mike. You guys don't like to ask for help most of the time. You like to do everything on your own.
Yeah, and we do, but one reason that I started the Father Show Resource Program, which is a nonprofit organization, the main reason I started that is because I had a lot of men that were going through divorce, and they were saying, they didn't know where to get any help in regards to counseling, an attorney, anything that they needed. And you and I both know there's a lot of things out there for women, but very little things out there for men.
I'm
And
not going to agree with that.
well, okay, we agree to disagree, but I will put
Well,
it this
yeah,
way.
case in
It-
point. Case in point. Just as an example, Mike. The U.S. government actually put together a very big campaign just a few years ago and slapped something up called fatherhood.gov, which you could go to at any
mhm,
time.
right.
It's an entire resource. You're very familiar. It's an
Yeah.
entire resource for dads for lots of their very specific needs that they have as they are, raising their own children. Now, what there is not, conversely, is a motherhood.gov. So there's
Hmm.
no like type or equal platform that the U.S. government has created for women. So that's why, expressly and specifically, I cannot agree that there are more resources for moms because we have the U.S. government slapping up fatherhood.gov and not doing anything for mothers. So that right
Well,
there, I think, kind of points to a direction that where we are in this country in terms of how this is maybe not just being looked at today, but where they want to take it.
well, let me say this. You said it. That was put up a few years ago, and I think that was
Mhm.
put up I think, in the Obama administration.
Correct.
However, and I've been doing it for 16, 17 years. So when
Hmm.
I was doing it and before they did the fatherhood, there was none. I mean, very little.
Okay.
So, and women have always had resources. And I know for
Not
myself,
women. The custodial parent has had resources.
well, but custodial parent, yes, they had it. But who was the custodian parent when you usually go to court? It was almost an automatic.
Well, you know what? That's absolutely true. So, we're going back, I don't know, it sounds like you want to go back 15, 20 years, and you're
No, no,
absolutely,
no, no.
how many years? Doesn't
I
matter.
know it has gotten better. I know it
Yes,
definitely has gotten better. But
right. But the
from
point is that the reason why, and I just want to make sure that we're being really factual and on board here, because there's a lot of misconceptions and then a lot of myths, and I think that that's part of the reason why everything comes becomes very convoluted at times. So the reason why women during this time period that you were referring to typically got custody, and I'm not walking back from that at all. You're absolutely right about that. But the reason is because the women have been the primary caregivers for the
hmm
children.
hmm
That is the reason why that the women were given custody. In addition, the data shows that when it came time to start discussing custody, men purposefully backed away from saying that they wanted custody. They wanted visitation. So this whole thing about dads wanting to be custodial parents is new. This is not something that was going on in the
Right,
1970s, in the 1980s, in the
right.
1990s. So again, I submit to you that it's not that these programs were built for women. They were built for the custodial parents, which happen to be women because women were the one who were taking care of the kids. Now, if we're talking about what's best for the kid, that makes sense if the woman is the primary caregiver.
Well,
So,
no, I can't agree with that one
oh,
either.
okay. So you want to tell me that dad should become primary caregiver when he's been working 80 hours a week, doesn't even know the kid's favorite color or what their allergies are, but he should be primary caregiver?
Well,
Nobody's saying that dad's
there's absolutely there's a cases where a father thinks of work more than he does taking care of the kids because when he was brought up his dad was that way and his
correct,
grandfather was that way. They weren't
correct.
taught to be affectionate and to the kids.
Absolutely.
But with the
Spot on.
the new fathers in say in their 30s and 40s and younger, you're seeing that more. You've got more fathers staying at home and the wife working. So you're
Yep.
seeing a reverse in the roles Absolutely. So I,
I wouldn't say a reverse. I would say that we're seeing more dads who are stepping into that position of
right,
primary
right.
care.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I would
Yeah.
agree with that completely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're on
Yeah.
the same page here. But all I'm saying is that your comment was that these programs were available for women, and I'm disagreeing just with how that's being how that's being characterized, because they weren't for women. They were for the custodial parent. They were for the
Uh,
primary caregiver. So anybody could have availed themselves. It's not that if it was a dad who happened to be a primary caregiver, he could avail himself of that program
yeah.
because it wasn't for women. So all I'm saying is
Okay.
that initially we had programs for all primary caregivers. It was not gender specific. And
Mm-hmm.
then during the Obama administration, you're absolutely right, fatherhood.gov came into play.
Yeah.
So you had primary caregivers, and then you had fatherhood.gov with no like type
Yeah.
program. So there was this
But
inequality there.
would you agree with that? The fact that if a man came into a custodian for custodial help, they were looked at and viewed differently. Not now. I mean, because I know it has evolved a little bit, and
Mhm.
the way that they look at things has definitely changed. And, I have friends that work for the government, and they work for, fatherhood programs and so forth. So I know in the last few years it has changed, even for the court system, because I know when I went through it, and we are talking, a few years ago, more than a few.
Mhm.
They told me when I knew my daughter was being abused, they said short of me bringing her mother in with needle marks up her arm, the chance of me getting my daughter was slim and none. So there was, back in the day, there was some favoritism when we're talking maybe 10 years ago. So I know there's stuff for custodian, but when a father looks, comes for help, just like when they come to you for help, they're looked, and not you personally, they're
No, no, no.
they're looked at differently, and they looked at, kind of like cross-eyed, like, what are you doing here? They, because I think women have the same theory that I talked about when I said, give me my child, and my attorney said, do you want child support? And I said, no, just give me my child. I can take care of her on my own. That's the consensus, and a lot of men feel the same way. And if they go for help, they're kind of viewed as what, you can't take care of her on your own, or him. So that's all I was really saying.
I don't know, Mike. I appreciate what you're saying. I kind of feel like, when it comes to our children, all bets are off. I don't care what somebody thinks about me when I go into a courtroom or a building or I have to write a document.
Yeah.
I'm here to do a job. I'm here to take care of my children, and you can think what you want, but you're not going to get in my way.
Well, I
So,
agree. And
yeah.
and I've had fathers that have done that. One of actually how we became best friends because we were fighting for our daughters at the same time. And this was a former NFL football player, and him and I, he fought for his daughter, and he had to do it on his own. And he went to the court, did the paperwork, all that stuff, and I did the same thing. So there are men out there that will fight and go after their daughters or child,
Absolutely.
period.
I've known some of them. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've never disagreed with that ever.
No,
Yeah,
I know you don't. I know you don't,
yeah, yeah,
because just from our conversations before, I'm not saying it's you, or it that Athena's collects represent that kind of theory. So I'm not saying that at all. I just know from my own personal experience and the fathers I've dealt with and the friends that I've had, that what we've gone through, and so. But I know a lot of that is changing. Thank goodness it's changing.
yeah.
And it's getting better, and thank goodness for that as well. So, well, that's a good thing. But anyway, I want you to, that's really our time for today, but I want you to tell the audience how they can get in touch with you and how they can use Athena's Collects services so that
Yeah.
if they're in the, in arrears or
Hmm.
they are due the arrears, they know how
Hmm.
to get in touch with you and get their money that they're solely deserve and due for the kids.
So, Mike, I really, really appreciate you giving us the platform to share this information because it's one of the things that I feel very, very strongly about. If you're owed past due child support, this platform is for you. You just have to be owed at least $5,000 for 6 months or more. And let me tell you what Athena Collects was built to do. It's built to take all of the pain points away from you when you are trying to collect. As an example, if you imagine like what TurboTax does for you, and a platform like LegalZoom that generates your legal documents, and then you put those two things together. What the platform does, like TurboTax meets LegalZoom, it collects all of the critical data points for mom and dad, meaning who you are, what your child support case is like, what your problems are, who dad is. Once we have all that information from you, we start to locate dad. So we find out where dad is. We can find his income. We can find his assets, and then the platform generates all of the state specific and customized legal documents that you need so that you can go after all of his assets. We provide the documents to you in your dashboard when you subscribe to the tech product, and all you have to do is to file them with the courts and all of the relevant parties. So just to break this down for you a little bit more, you're not going to be able to collect your past due child support, first of all, unless you know where dad is. Lots of times what happens is that he moves, and he could move around the corner to the next county or to the next state, and it doesn't matter. You have to find him, and most people who are engaged in the game know that the first thing child support enforcement is going to tell you to do is to find him and then give them his address and then let them do the rest of their job. So, right? So, how are you going to find them? Most people don't know how to do that. We have the ability to access not just public documents, but private information. So I'm talking bank accounts, I'm talking investment accounts, I am talking business. So you can find out, whether he's hiding a business in somebody else's name, if he has his mom, his sister, his girlfriend, his business partner to shield assets for him. We have the ability to uncover all of this. If you want to figure out more, you want to get more information, hop on over to our website, Athena Collects, AthenaCollects, AthenaCollects.com, and you can read more about how the company could help you to collect, like we have helped thousands of other, mostly moms, to do the same thing. We've helped to collect over $15 million at this point.
Okay, and that's great, and I would ask that it's what definitely. I know you speak a lot about the women and the mothers. You're helping the mothers, but I want fathers to understand that Athena's Collects can help you as well, and they will help you. And if you are owed child support and you feel you really need it, then you should go after. And really, even if you don't need it, I mean, take it and put it into a college fund for the kids.
Correct.
Put it
Hmm.
into their savings account so that way they have the money when they get to be an adult. So it's important for the child, and that's what it's for, and that's who it's for. But that's also to help put a roof over their head.
Correct.
And so fathers, we got to do our part, and I know it's hard, but I like what you said, Simone. The fact that there's some states that look at what a father needs to live, is because we hear, and I know this is going to run over our time, but you hear a lot of time that the father wants to visit with the child, wants to have child, but he has to work two jobs now to be able to live and pay his child support. So he doesn't have time to spend with the kid, which is really unfair to the kid in every way, shape, and form, because that's who is ultimately hurting.
Well, I have to agree with that. I think it's always important that, as parents, we spend, as much quality time with our kids as we possibly can, because we are the ones that are molding them for the world that they're going to face, later on. And if we aren't molding them, trust that somebody else is going to be molding them, and it may not be the directions that we want our kids to go in. So, as parents, moms and dads, it's always a hard thing when we have to work two jobs. I
Yeah,
understand the difficulty when dad has to work two jobs, and it makes spending time with his kids hard. I understand when mom has to work two jobs because she's not getting support, and it makes it hard for her to spend time with the kids. The bottom line is that wherever you're sitting, whichever point of view and position that you're coming from, whether you're mom or dad, we're raising these kids, and we
yeah,
all have to make sure that the kids have what they need. We need to put aside how things are affecting us, because that's what parenting is about, right? Parenting is all about sacrifice. We all have to sacrifice. You could have all the money in the world, and parenting is still going to be about sacrifice. You're going to be sacrificing something else. Parenting is
true.
about right.
All right.
Parenting is about putting your children first. And even though it's hard, these younger years go by really, really quickly. At some point you're going to sit back and realize that it was a blink of an eye. And it might be hard to work two jobs and still give to your kids, whether you're mom or whether you're dad. You just have different scenarios, but it's
Yeah,
hard for
yeah,
everybody
it
concerned.
is.
So yeah, so I just say, and you made a really good point, because I mentioned, when I was talking about the product, moms can on board. You know what? All parents come on board. I always and very frequently say moms, because we mostly market to women because mostly women buy our product. But let's make no mistake, let's be really clear. If you are a dad in the same position, you're raising your children, you have a child support order, and mom is not doing what she's supposed to do, we ask you as well to come and check out our website and see if this product for you is for you, because we are about making sure that the children at the end of the day have what you need. It doesn't matter it doesn't matter to us what your gender is. We're about making sure that the kids have what they need. So mom, dad,
Absolutely.
doesn't matter. Check it out. And if it's for you, we want you on the product. We want you to be one of our success stories. Check out some of our success stories on the website.
All right. Well, good. Simone, thank you so much. And I know you've got
Thank
another
you, Mike.
appointment, but we're going to close this show out so you can make your appointment and I don't
Thank you
hold
so
you
much.
up. But I want to thank you for joining us on the Father Show, and thank you for bringing your information and your expertise to this subject matter, because it's very touchy but it's very needed. So thank you again, and we're going to talk some more soon. All right, but I'm
Okay.
gonna close this
Thanks for
out real
inviting me,
quick.
Mike.
Oh, my pleasure. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's our show for today. I want to thank you for joining us here on the Father Show, and I want to thank Simone Spence from Athena Collects for joining us. And if you're looking for resources that can help you, go to the Father Show with MikeThompson.com and click on resources header. There you will find a list of different resources like attorneys, counselors, therapists, and I hope I can get Simone to list her company on our website as well. But before you go, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and also the notification bell so that you can always be notified when we have another show. And you can catch the Father Show with Mike Thompson on our website, on our YouTube channel, Facebook, and you can also catch us on Twitter, Spotify, Amazon Music, Audible, Pandora, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, and Alexia, and Stitcher, and then others. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us today. And I would love to see you again next week. Until then, stay safe and God bless. Simone, thank you so much here.